Por favor, solo contrátame una noche, mi hija tiene hambre. Rogó la viuda apache al ganadero. The sun was just beginning to rise over the dry, rugged land. The wind whispered through the sparse trees, carrying with it the dust and heat of another difficult day. In a small, worn-out hut on the edge of a quiet village, a woman stirred. Her hands, rough and calloused from years of labor, moved quickly to prepare whatever meager breakfast she could find for her little daughter. The food was barely enough to fill a stomach, yet it was all she had. Her name was Yana, a young Apache widow who had known hardship all her life, but nothing had been as painful as watching her child go hungry. Her daughter, a little girl with wide, curious eyes, sat quietly by the small fire. She was too young to understand the difficulties fully, but she could feel the tension in her mother's movements. Yana's heart ached as she looked at her daughter's thin frame and pale cheeks. "I promise, little one," she whispered softly, trying to sound strong, "we will find a way today. I won't let you go hungry." But even as she spoke, doubt gnawed at her. Days had passed with hardly any food, and the small coins she had saved were gone. The village offered little in the way of work, and neighbors, though kind, had nothing extra to give. The weight of her circumstances pressed heavily on her chest, and she knew that without help, the next night could be even harder. She watched her daughter play quietly with a small, worn doll. The girl's laughter was rare these days, but it was a sound Ayana cherished above all else. Finally, with a deep breath, Ayana made her decision. She could not sit idly by while her child went hungry. She would go to the nearby ranch, the largest one in the area, where a man known as the rancher, or the ganadero, oversaw the work of many laborers. He was a man of strict rules and even stricter judgment, but perhaps, just perhaps, he might offer her a chance to earn something. It was a long walk, and the sun was climbing higher, but Ayana's determination was stronger than her fear. She wrapped her thin shawl tightly around her shoulders and set off, her child clutching her hand, feeling the small weight of hope alongside the hunger. The path to the ranch was not easy. The land was uneven, dotted with rocks and sparse vegetation. Each step was a reminder of how far she had to go and how difficult her journey had already been. As they walked, Ayana whispered stories to her daughter to distract her from the discomfort. She told her tales of the Apache ancestors, of brave women who had faced hardship and survived, who had protected their families with courage and wisdom. Her daughter listened intently, her imagination bringing to life the stories her mother wove. It was these moments that kept Ayana's spirit alive. After hours of walking, they finally saw the large wooden fences of the ranch in the distance. Smoke rose gently from a chimney, and the distant sounds of animals echoed through the air. The sight filled Ayana with both hope and nervousness. She wondered how the rancher would react. Would he be kind, or would he dismiss her immediately? The fear of rejection was sharp, but her daughter's hungry eyes strengthened her resolve. There was no choice but to ask. When they reached the gate, Ayana saw the rancher for the first time. He was a tall man, broad-shouldered, with a stern expression and eyes that seemed to weigh every person who approached him. His hands were strong, calloused from years of labor, and the way he carried himself spoke of experience and authority. Yana took a deep breath, bowed slightly, and spoke with a voice trembling from nerves but filled with honesty. "Please, sir," she began, her words deliberate and careful, "just one night, I only ask for a chance to work. My daughter is hungry and I have nothing to give her. Please, just hire me for tonight." The rancher's eyes narrowed as he studied her. He was used to people asking for work, but rarely did anyone approach him with such raw honesty and desperation. He remained silent for a long moment, and Ayana felt every second stretch like an eternity. Her heart pounded, and her daughter's small hand tightened around hers. She waited, willing herself to stand tall despite the fear rising in her chest. Finally, the rancher spoke, his voice deep and measured. "Why should I hire you?" he asked, his tone neither cruel nor kind. There is much work to be done, and one night may not be enough for you to contribute. How do I know you can manage? Yana swallowed hard. She knew she could not hide the truth of her situation, and she also knew she could not allow fear to stop her. She met his gaze firmly. I may be small and I may be weak, but I will do everything I can, she said. I can feed the animals, clean the stables, help with chores, anything you need. I only ask for the chance to work, so my daughter can eat tonight. Her words hung in the air, and the rancher's gaze softened ever so slightly. He had seen desperation before, but there was something different in her tone, a strength hidden beneath the worry. He looked at the small child peeking from behind her mother, and for the first time he noticed the depth of need, the innocence that depended entirely on the woman standing before him. The rancher finally nodded, a slow and deliberate motion. Very well, he said. You may work tonight, but you must be ready for hard labor. No excuses. Yana's heart soared and a small smile crossed her lips. She whispered a quick thank you before turning to her daughter, whose eyes were wide with hope and curiosity. Come on, little one, she said softly. Let's make tonight count. As they followed the rancher toward the stables, Yana felt a mixture of relief and anticipation. She knew the work would be exhausting, but the thought of her daughter eating a full meal tonight filled her with energy she didn't know she had. She glanced at the horizon where the sun was now climbing higher, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange. For the first time in days, she felt a glimmer of hope that maybe, just maybe, things could get better. The stables were alive with the sounds of animals and the scent of hay. Horses stamped their hooves, cattle lowed softly, and the faint clatter of tools echoed through the barn. Yana rolled up her sleeves, ready to begin. She worked quietly, methodically, taking care of the animals as if they were her own children. Each chore completed was a small victory, a proof to herself and the rancher that she was capable, that she deserved the chance she had been given. Hours passed, and Yana barely noticed the fatigue. Her thoughts remained focused on her daughter, on the warmth of a meal that awaited them. She worked tirelessly, driven not just by survival, but by love, by the fierce determination that only a mother could understand. As the day slowly turned to evening, the rancher watched her closely, impressed by her resilience and dedication. For the first time, he saw beyond the desperate mother. He saw a woman of strength, courage, and unwavering spirit. By the time the work was done, the sun had set and the sky was a deep shade of purple. Yana finally allowed herself to breathe. She looked at her daughter, who was now smiling faintly, exhausted but happy. Tonight, she whispered, we will eat, and tomorrow we will try again. No matter what, we will survive. That night, as they shared a modest meal prepared by the rancher, Yana felt a warmth that went beyond the food. It was hope, courage, and the knowledge that even in the darkest times, a single act of faith and determination could change everything. Her journey was far from over, but she had taken the first step. And in her heart, she knew that as long as she had love for her daughter, she would find the strength to face whatever came next. The next morning, the first light of dawn stretched over the ranch, painting the hills and pastures in soft gold. The air was crisp, carrying the smell of earth, hay, and animals. Yana woke early, her body still sore from the hard work of the previous night. Every muscle ached, but she ignored the discomfort. She had learned long ago that survival often required pushing through pain, especially when her daughter depended on her. Her little girl stirred beside her, rubbing her eyes and yawning. Yana smiled softly and brushed a strand of hair from her daughter's face. Good morning, my little one, she whispered. We have work to do, and I will show you how courage can shine even in difficult days. The girl nodded quietly, sensing the seriousness in her mother's tone. Though young, she had already learned that life was not always gentle, and she admired her mother's strength. Yana and her daughter prepared for the day ahead. She helped her child dress in simple clothes, worn but clean, and tied her small shoes firmly. They left their temporary sleeping area near the stables and stepped into the cool morning air. The ranch was already alive with activity. Workers moved briskly, carrying tools and tending to the animals. Horses neighed, and the cattle's soft lowing filled the quiet spaces. Yana felt a mix of nerves and determination. Today was not just another day. It was a chance to prove herself and secure a little more stability for her daughter. She approached the rancher, who was already inspecting the fields. His expression was stern, but there was a hint of curiosity as he noticed her arrival. "Are you ready for today?" he asked, his voice calm but firm. Yana straightened her shoulders and nodded. "Yes, sir. I will do my best." Her voice was steady, though her heart raced with anticipation. She knew that words alone would not earn respect here. Only hard work, patience, and perseverance would. The rancher studied her for a moment longer, then handed her a small list of tasks. "You will start with feeding the horses, then clean the stables and gather fresh water for the livestock. After that, help the other workers with any chores that need attention. Keep your pace steady and don't waste time." Yana accepted the instructions with gratitude, knowing that every task completed would bring her daughter closer to a proper meal and perhaps a more secure life. She led her little girl to a quiet corner of the stable where they could begin without disturbing the other workers. She gently guided the horses, speaking to them softly. The animals responded to her calm presence, and for a moment, Ayana felt a connection that was both comforting and grounding. As the morning progressed, the work became increasingly demanding. Feeding the animals, hauling water, and cleaning the stables was physically exhausting. Sweat dripped down her face, and her hands became raw from handling ropes and buckets. Yet she pressed on, driven by love and necessity. Every completed task was a small victory, a proof of her determination. Her daughter observed quietly, sometimes helping with smaller chores, learning the value of responsibility and perseverance even at a young age. Despite the challenges, Ayana found moments of quiet beauty. Sunlight streamed through the stable windows, illuminating the dust particles in the air, turning them into tiny golden sparks. The rhythmic sounds of hooves, the gentle murmurs of cattle, and the soft rustling of leaves created a strange sense of peace amidst the labor. In these small moments, she felt the world was not entirely cruel. Even in hardship, there was beauty to notice and draw strength from. Around midday, Ayana noticed the rancher observing her from a distance. He seemed to study her movements closely, as if trying to understand her resolve. At first, she felt a flash of nervousness. She knew he had authority over the work and the opportunity she had been given, and she feared making any mistake. But then she remembered her daughter waiting for her, and that thought gave her courage. She continued her work with precision, careful not to waste time, ensuring every task was done properly. By the afternoon, the rancher approached her directly. "You work with diligence," he said, his voice less severe than before. "Not many would endure this with such determination. Most give up when the labor becomes difficult. Why do you continue?" Yana paused for a moment, her hands still gripping a bucket. She looked at him with honesty in her eyes. "I continue because I must," she said softly. "My daughter depends on me. I have no one else to turn to, and I cannot allow her to suffer. I may be tired and I may struggle, but love gives me strength. Every action I take is for her." The rancher studied her, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded slowly. "I see," he said. There was a pause, a rare moment where the stern man seemed to soften. "You have resilience, and that is a quality many lack. Keep this pace, and you may prove yourself more than just tonight's labor." Yana felt a small sense of pride, but quickly reminded herself that the work was not yet over. She returned to the stables, pushing her fatigue aside, determined to complete every task. As she moved, the workers around her began to notice her dedication. Some offered brief smiles or words of encouragement, small gestures that lifted her spirits. She returned their kindness with quiet nods, focusing on her work, knowing that respect was earned through action, not words. Hours passed, and the sun climbed higher, casting sharp shadows across the ranch. The heat grew intense, but Ayanna did not falter. She continued to feed the animals, clean the stalls, and haul water. Occasionally, she paused to catch her breath, allowing her daughter to rest and offering small sips of water to keep her hydrated. It was a delicate balance, maintaining her own strength while caring for a child, but she handled it with remarkable grace. By late afternoon, a small miracle occurred. The rancher returned with a tray of simple food, bread, beans, and fresh water. He placed it near Ayanna and her daughter. "You have earned this," he said gruffly. "Eat quickly and continue your work. There is more to do before nightfall." Ayanna's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled, accepting the meal. She shared it with her daughter, savoring each bite while also feeling gratitude for the unexpected kindness. For a brief moment, the weight of desperation lifted, replaced by hope and the comfort of nourishment. Her daughter ate eagerly, her laughter returning in small bursts, lighting up the space around them. The remainder of the day passed in a blur of activity. Ayanna continued to work tirelessly, moving between tasks, helping the other laborers, and ensuring every detail was attended to. The rancher watched silently, occasionally giving instructions or acknowledging her efforts with a nod. By evening, the stables were clean, the animals fed and watered, and the fields attended to. Ayanna's body ached, but her spirit was stronger than ever. She had faced the challenge and emerged with a sense of accomplishment and renewed purpose. As the sun set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Ayanna and her daughter settled near the stables, taking a moment to rest. The rancher approached again, his expression less stern than before. "You have worked hard," he said. "Few would endure this day with your determination. I will consider giving you more work tomorrow, but for now, rest. You have earned it." Ayanna felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of relief and pride. She looked at her daughter, who was now sleeping peacefully, exhausted but content. In that moment, Ayanna realized something important. Even in the harshest circumstances, perseverance, love, and courage could create opportunities. She had taken the first steps toward a better life, and though the path ahead was uncertain, she now had proof that she could face it with strength and dignity. That night, under the soft glow of the moon, Ayanna whispered a promise to her daughter. "We will continue, little one. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but together we will face them. We will survive, and one day we will thrive." Her daughter stirred and smiled faintly, a silent acknowledgement of their shared determination. And in that quiet moment, Ayanna knew that no matter what hardships lay ahead, her love and courage would guide them through. The following morning, Ayanna woke before dawn. Her body ached from the previous day's work, yet her determination burned brighter than ever. She had learned that survival required effort, patience, and courage, and she was willing to give everything she had for her daughter. Her little girl stirred beside her, rubbing her eyes, still sleepy but ready to follow her mother wherever the day's work led them. The ranch was already alive with activity. Workers moved with practiced efficiency, carrying tools, feeding animals, and preparing the fields for the day. Horses whinnied in the stables, and cattle lowed softly in the pastures. The smell of hay, earth, and livestock filled the air, reminding Ayanna of both the challenges and the small joys of life in the ranch. She wrapped her daughter in a light shawl, holding her hand as they walked toward the stables, ready to face another day of labor. The rancher noticed them immediately. He had watched Ayanna carefully the previous day, and her resilience had impressed him. Today, however, he seemed curious, almost testing her to see if her determination would endure. "Are you ready for another day?" he asked, his voice firm but with a hint of acknowledgement. Ayanna nodded. "Yes, sir, I will do my best." Her voice was steady, even though exhaustion lingered in her muscles. She knew that words alone would not earn respect. Her actions would speak louder than anything she could say. The tasks for the day were more demanding than before. She began with the animals, feeding the horses and cleaning the stables, careful to complete each job thoroughly. She worked with precision, her movements steady and practiced, showing the rancher that she was capable of more than just a temporary effort. Her daughter assisted in small ways, carrying buckets of water and sweeping the floor, learning the value of hard work and responsibility. Together, they formed a small but determined team, their bond strengthened by necessity and love. By mid-morning, the heat of the sun pressed down on the ranch. Sweat ran down Ayana's face, and her hands were raw and blistered from the repetitive labor. But she continued, driven by her desire to provide for her daughter. Every chore completed was a small victory, proof of her resilience and determination. As she worked, she caught glimpses of the rancher observing her quietly. His expression was unreadable, but there was a sense of growing respect in his eyes. He had seen many workers come and go, but few showed the level of dedication and endurance that Ayana displayed. Around noon, the rancher approached her directly. "You have a rare kind of strength," he said, his voice measured. "Most people give up when faced with this kind of labor. Why do you keep going?" Ayana paused, setting down a bucket. She looked him directly in the eyes. "I continue because my daughter depends on me," she said softly but firmly. "I have no one else to care for her, and I cannot allow her to suffer. Love gives me strength. Even when I am tired, I find a way to keep moving because she is counting on me." The rancher nodded slowly, seeming to consider her words carefully. There was a moment of silence where the only sounds were the soft rustle of the wind and the low calls of the animals. "I see," he said finally. "It is rare to witness such determination. Keep this pace, and you may earn more than just today's work." Encouraged by his words, Ayana returned to her tasks with renewed energy. She cleaned the stables meticulously, fed every animal carefully, and helped other workers with their chores. The rancher occasionally offered guidance or small corrections, but he did so with a quieter tone than usual, as if acknowledging her growing competence. Yana noticed the subtle change and felt a small spark of pride. She was not just surviving, she was proving herself, showing that her strength and resilience were worthy of recognition. As the afternoon progressed, the sun climbed higher and the work became even more grueling. Yana felt the sting of fatigue, her muscles trembling from constant exertion. Yet she pressed on, her mind focused on her daughter and the small hope of security that came from proving herself capable. The rancher continued to watch, occasionally stepping in to assist with heavier tasks or giving brief instructions. Over time, a quiet understanding developed between them. Though words were few, mutual respect was forming. By late afternoon, the rancher returned with a small tray of food, bread, beans, and water for Ayana and her daughter. He placed it gently on a wooden bench and nodded. "Eat. You have earned it." Ayana's eyes filled with tears of relief and gratitude. She shared the food with her daughter, savoring every bite. The warmth of nourishment spread through her body, but even more powerful was the feeling of hope. For the first time in days, she could imagine a future where hunger was not a constant threat. Her daughter's laughter returned in small bursts as she ate, a sound that filled Ayana with indescribable joy and reinforced her determination to continue. After the meal, the work continued, but Ayana noticed a subtle shift in the rancher's demeanor. He spoke to her with slightly more patience and occasionally offered brief words of encouragement. Though still stern, his attitude had softened, as if he were beginning to see her not just as a laborer, but as a person with courage and determination. Evening approached, casting long shadows across the ranch. The work slowed as the animals were fed and settled for the night. Ayana and her daughter finally had a moment to rest, sitting quietly near the stables. The rancher approached once more, his expression less severe than earlier. "You have worked hard," he said. "Few would endure this day with your dedication. I will consider giving you more work tomorrow. For now, rest. You have earned it." Yana felt a warmth in her chest, a mixture of relief, pride, and hope. She looked at her daughter, who was now sleepy but smiling faintly, and realized how much they had accomplished together. Even in the harshest circumstances, perseverance and love could create opportunities. She had proven to herself and to the rancher that she was capable, resilient, and worthy of respect. That night, under the soft glow of the moon, Ayana whispered to her daughter, "Tomorrow will bring new challenges, little one, but we will face them together. I promise you we will survive, and one day we will thrive." Her daughter stirred and smiled, a silent acknowledgement of their shared determination. And in that quiet moment, Ayana felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but with love and courage, there was nothing they could not endure. The bond between mother and daughter grew stronger with each passing day. Ayana's determination inspired her daughter, and the little girl's presence gave Ayana a reason to push beyond exhaustion and fear. Together they faced the challenges of the ranch, learning the rhythm of hard work, the patience needed to care for animals, and the quiet satisfaction of completing each task well. Each chore, each moment of effort, was a step toward stability and hope. Meanwhile, the rancher observed their interactions, noting the careful attention Ayana gave her daughter even while completing demanding labor. He had seen many workers come and go, but few displayed the combination of strength, dedication, and love that Ayana exhibited. Slowly, his respect grew, though he did not yet voice it openly. It was clear, however, that he recognized something remarkable in her, a quiet resilience and determination that could not be ignored. As night fell, the ranch became calm, the animals resting and the workers finishing their final tasks. Ayana and her daughter settled in a small corner near the stables, exhausted but content. Ayana reflected on the day, realizing that she had proven her strength not only to the rancher but to herself. She had faced hardship, labor, and exhaustion, yet she had endured, fueled by love and necessity. Before closing her eyes, she whispered once more to her daughter, "We will face tomorrow together. Nothing can break us as long as we have each other." Her daughter curled up beside her, trusting in her mother's strength, and for the first time in many days they slept peacefully, knowing they had survived and that hope remained. The days that followed were full of hard work. But Ayana had begun to find a rhythm in the ranch. Each morning she woke with purpose, even when her body protested. The early hours were often the hardest, but she welcomed them, knowing that every task she completed brought her daughter closer to safety and comfort. Her little girl, growing stronger and more confident each day, followed her mother dutifully, carrying small tools and assisting in simple chores. Together, they had become a quiet but resilient team, surviving the challenges of the ranch through determination and love. The rancher, who had initially been cautious and distant, began to notice more than just her work ethic. He observed the way Ayana carefully balanced her tasks with the care she showed her daughter, never allowing the child to be left unattended even for a moment. It was a delicate balance, and one that many could not manage. Slowly, his respect for her grew, though he remained reserved, cautious not to show too much emotion or approval too quickly. Yet in his silence, Ayana sensed a change, a recognition of her strength and integrity that was more powerful than words. One afternoon, as Ayana was mending a fence with her daughter nearby, the rancher approached her. He had been observing the work quietly for some time, and when he spoke, his voice held a tone of consideration rather than authority. "You have proven yourself," he said, "not just in the way you work, but in the way you carry yourself. Many would falter under the pressure, but you persist. Why do you endure so much for just a single day of work?" Yana paused, letting the words settle before answering. "Because I have no choice," she said softly. "My daughter depends on me. I must provide for her and I must protect her. Even when the work is difficult, Even when I am tired or scared, I continue. That is what a mother must do." Her voice was calm, but there was a fire behind her words that was impossible to ignore. The rancher nodded slowly, as if trying to fully grasp the depth of her determination. He had seen many workers in his life, but few had shown the kind of endurance and dedication Ayanna displayed. Her actions spoke louder than any words, and gradually he began to see her not just as a laborer, but as a person of remarkable resilience. He found himself thinking of ways to support her more, to allow her skills and perseverance to shine even further. In the following days, the rancher began giving Ayanna additional responsibilities. She was asked to assist in supervising the animals, to help organize the workers, and to carry out tasks that required both skill and judgment. At first, she felt nervous about taking on more than she could handle, but her confidence grew with each successful task. Her little daughter watched proudly from a safe corner, learning lessons in courage, resilience, and the value of persistence. The community of workers also began to notice Ayanna's efforts. They watched quietly at first, curious about the new mother who managed her work with such care and dedication. Slowly, some began to offer small gestures of kindness, helping carry buckets, offering encouragement, sharing advice. Ayanna accepted these gestures with gratitude, understanding that cooperation and support were as important as strength and hard work. One evening, as the sun set behind the distant hills, Ayanna paused to rest near the stables. The rancher approached, holding a small tray of food. "You've done well today," he said, placing the tray gently before her. "Eat and rest. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, but you are proving yourself capable of more than most." Ayanna looked at the food and then at her daughter, who had been watching quietly. She smiled, grateful for the nourishment and for the recognition. They shared the meal together, savoring each bite and finding comfort in the simple act of eating after a long day of labor. Her daughter laughed softly as she ate, a sound that warmed Ayanna's heart and reminded her why she endured so much each day. The bond between mother and daughter grew stronger with each passing day, and so too did the subtle connection between Ayanna and the rancher. He began to trust her judgment, asking for her opinion on tasks and valuing her input. Though he remained reserved, the respect in his eyes was undeniable. He had witnessed her dedication, her courage, and her unwavering love for her daughter, and it had changed the way he viewed her. She was no longer just a temporary worker. She was someone who had proven her worth through action and character. One afternoon, as Ayanna was organizing tools in the barn, the rancher spoke again. "I have watched you carefully," he said. "You have endurance, patience, and wisdom beyond what many possess. I believe you could handle even more responsibility. If you are willing, I would like to give you a permanent role here at the ranch. Not just for a day, but ongoing work, with regular provisions for you and your daughter." Ayanna felt her heart leap. She had not dared to hope for such an opportunity so soon. The thought of steady work, regular meals, and the security of a safe place for her daughter seemed almost too good to be true. She took a moment to steady her voice before replying. "Thank you," she said softly, tears welling in her eyes. "I promise to continue working with all my strength. I will not disappoint you." The rancher nodded, a rare softness in his expression. "I trust you," he said. "You have earned this trust, and I believe you will continue to show the same dedication and care you have from the beginning." From that day forward, Ayanna's life began to shift. The work was still demanding, but there was a sense of stability she had never experienced before. Her daughter had regular meals, a safe place to sleep, and a chance to grow stronger each day. Ayanna herself felt a new kind of confidence, knowing that her efforts were recognized and valued. The respect she earned from the rancher and the other workers reinforced her sense of dignity and self-worth, proving that perseverance and integrity could transform even the most difficult circumstances. As weeks passed, the small community within the ranch began to change as well. Other workers looked to Ayanna as an example of courage and resilience. The rancher occasionally sought her advice on tasks, and she found herself contributing in ways she had never imagined possible. Each day brought challenges, but it also brought a sense of purpose and hope that she had not felt in a long time. Her determination, once driven solely by necessity, now inspired those around her, creating a ripple effect of respect and admiration. At night, after the work was done, Ayanna and her daughter would sit quietly near the stables, sharing small moments of joy. They would watch the stars appear in the sky, the moon casting its soft light over the ranch. Ayanna whispered stories of the Apache ancestors to her daughter, weaving lessons of courage, wisdom, and resilience into each tale. Her daughter listened intently, her eyes wide with wonder, absorbing both the stories and the example her mother set every day. The rancher, though often distant and reserved, began to show subtle signs of respect beyond words. He would occasionally offer small tokens of trust, asking her to take charge of certain tasks or giving her minor privileges in the ranch. Though he never spoke of personal feelings, it was clear that he saw Ayanna not just as a worker, but as a person of remarkable character. Her quiet strength had transformed the way he viewed her, and in doing so, it had created a new opportunity for both her and her daughter. By the time the month had passed, Ayanna had not only secured a permanent role at the ranch, but had also gained a measure of independence and confidence she had never known. Her daughter thrived under her care, healthy, strong, and filled with curiosity and laughter. The struggles of the past were not forgotten, but they were tempered by the hope and stability that now colored their days. Ayanna knew the road ahead would still be challenging, but she had proven to herself, to her daughter, and to the rancher that she could endure, overcome, and succeed. The transformation was quiet but profound. Ayanna, once a desperate widow pleading for a single night of work, had become a respected and capable member of the ranch community. She had earned her place not through entitlement, but through relentless determination, courage, and love. The rancher, who had begun as a distant and cautious figure, now treated her with respect and trust, recognizing the depth of her character and the strength of her resolve. And most importantly, her daughter flourished, safe and nourished, growing stronger each day under her mother's unwavering care. At night, as Ayanna watched her daughter sleep peacefully, she whispered a promise. "We have come far, little one," she said softly. "And we will go even further. Our journey is just beginning, and together we can face anything." The moonlight fell softly across the ranch, and for the first time in many long months, Ayanna allowed herself to feel the quiet joy of hope fulfilled, knowing that her perseverance had transformed their lives in ways she had only dreamed possible. The days that followed were filled with a sense of purpose and stability that Ayanna had never known before. Each morning, she rose with determination, knowing that her work at the ranch not only provided for her daughter, but also gave her a sense of dignity and pride. The labor was still hard, and the sun still beat down on her as she tended to the animals in the fields, but now there was a difference. Her efforts were recognized, appreciated, and rewarded. The fear and desperation that had haunted her in the past were slowly replaced by confidence and hope. Her little daughter, once pale and weak from hunger, had grown stronger with each passing day. She followed her mother through the ranch, learning quietly, carrying small tools, and helping in simple ways. Ayanna marveled at her daughter's resilience and curiosity, knowing that the child was learning lessons that would stay with her for life. The laughter that had once been rare now echoed through the ranch during brief moments of rest, bringing joy to Ayanna's heart. She had worked so hard to ensure that her daughter could smile again, and seeing her happy was the greatest reward of all. The rancher, who had once been stern and distant, had grown to respect and trust Ayanna. His attitude toward her had changed over time. He saw not only her skill and strength, but also the unwavering love she had for her daughter. Though he rarely spoke of emotions directly, his actions, entrusting her with responsibilities, seeking her advice, and providing her with steady work, showed his growing admiration. Yana recognized this respect and accepted it quietly, focusing on her tasks with renewed energy, knowing that she had earned her place in the ranch community. One afternoon, the rancher approached her with a serious expression. "Yana," he said, "I have been observing your dedication and the way you care for your daughter. You have proven yourself to be reliable, trustworthy, and capable. I want you to know that you no longer need to worry about food or work here. You have a permanent place in this ranch, not just as a worker but as a valued member of this community." Yana felt a rush of emotion. Relief, gratitude, and pride mingled in her chest, threatening to overwhelm her. She bowed her head slightly, her voice trembling as she spoke. "Thank you," she said softly. "I cannot express how much this means to me. I promise to continue working with all my heart, and I will never take this opportunity for granted." Her daughter, who had been playing nearby, ran to her mother and hugged her tightly. "Mama, we don't have to worry anymore," she asked, her small voice filled with hope. Yana held her close, feeling the warmth and love that had guided her through the hardest days. "No, my little one," she whispered. "From now on we are safe, and we will always have enough." As the weeks passed, life at the ranch settled into a steady rhythm. Yana worked alongside the other laborers, gaining respect and forming quiet friendships. She took pride in her work, knowing that each task she completed contributed to the smooth running of the ranch and the well-being of its animals. Her daughter thrived in this environment, learning the value of hard work, patience, and responsibility while also enjoying the simple joys of life. The small cottage near the stables became their home, a place of warmth, safety, and growing happiness. Yana also found moments to reflect on her journey. She thought about the days when she had wandered the village, desperate and hungry, pleading for just a single night of work. She remembered the fear and uncertainty that had gripped her heart, the worry for her daughter's well-being, and the long, lonely nights filled with doubt. Now, as she looked at her daughter playing and at the rancher moving confidently among the fields, she realized how far they had come. Every step of perseverance, every act of courage, and every ounce of determination had brought them to this point. The bond between mother and daughter had grown stronger than ever. They shared simple routines, preparing meals, tending to animals, and taking walks across the ranch fields. But each moment was filled with love, care, and connection. Yana knew that her daughter's sense of security and happiness was directly tied to her own strength, and she embraced the responsibility with unwavering dedication. The rancher, too, began to engage more openly with Yana. Though still reserved, he occasionally offered words of praise, guidance, and encouragement. He recognized her as a reliable, capable worker who had earned her place through hard work and integrity. Over time, his actions demonstrated trust and even admiration. He began to involve her in decisions about the ranch, asking her opinion on tasks and strategies, and valuing her insight. For Yana, this was not just a validation of her labor, but also a sign of respect and acknowledgement of her character. One afternoon, as the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the ranch, Yana and her daughter took a brief pause. They sat quietly near the stables, watching the horses graze and the cattle move lazily across the pasture. The wind carried the faint scent of hay and earth, a smell that had become comforting over the weeks. Yana looked at her daughter, who was humming a small tune, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. "We've made it this far," she whispered, "and we will continue to grow stronger together." The rancher, observing from a distance, noticed the quiet scene. Though he said nothing, he understood the bond between mother and daughter and the incredible resilience Yana had shown. He realized that her strength and determination had transformed not only their lives, but also the atmosphere of the ranch. Her dedication inspired those around her and set an example of perseverance and courage. As the months went by, Ayana's life continued to improve. She gained more confidence, skill, and independence. Her daughter grew healthier, happier, and more curious about the world around her. The ranch became a place of stability, routine, and small joys that had once seemed impossible. The bond between Ayana, her daughter, and the rancher remained grounded in respect, trust, and the shared recognition of hard work and perseverance. Ayana often reflected on the journey that had brought her to this point. She remembered the fear, hunger, and uncertainty that had once dominated her life. She thought about the night she had first approached the rancher, begging for work, and how that single moment had changed everything. It was a testament to the power of courage, determination, and love, a reminder that even in the darkest times, hope could be found. One evening, after a long day of work, Ayana and her daughter sat outside their cottage, watching the stars appear one by one in the clear night sky. The world felt calm and safe, and for the first time in many months, Ayana allowed herself to truly relax. "We've come a long way," she said softly to her daughter, "and we will continue to move forward no matter what comes our way." Her daughter nodded, a small smile on her face, and leaned against her mother. The rancher approached, carrying a small tray of food. He handed it to Ayana with a nod of respect. "You have done well," he said quietly. "You have earned this place, and you have earned the trust of everyone here." Ayana accepted the tray, her heart swelling with gratitude. She shared the food with her daughter, savoring each bite, knowing that their journey had led them to a place of safety, stability, and hope. Life on the ranch continued, full of hard work and small victories. Ayana's daughter grew stronger and more confident with each passing day. The rancher's respect for Ayana deepened as he witnessed her unwavering dedication, courage, and love. The once humble widow had become a valued member of the ranch community, admired for her resilience and strength. And through it all, the bond between mother and daughter remained unbreakable, a source of hope, inspiration, and unwavering love. As the story of their journey unfolded, it became clear that even in the harshest circumstances, perseverance, courage, and love could create lasting change. Ayana had transformed not only her own life, but also her daughter's future. The ranch, once a place of uncertainty and challenge, had become a home, a place of safety, growth, and possibility. And in the quiet moments of the night, as they watched the stars together, mother and daughter knew that their journey, though difficult, had led them to a brighter, more hopeful tomorrow. In the end, Ayana realized that the struggles she had faced were not in vain. Every hardship, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt had been a step toward a better life. She had proven that love and determination could overcome even the most daunting obstacles. And as she looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully beside her, she knew that their journey was just beginning. But together, they could face anything the world had to offer.